All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome today. I am excited because we are going to have a great conversation with a gentleman out of New Jersey. His name is Mr. Earl Scott. And we're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about redemption. We're going to talk about building oneself up. We're going to talk about creating a whole new existence in the way that you traverse through this earth, right? So, this is like a kickoff, if you will, for this series that we have been working on for the last year and a half, maybe. It's maybe been about a year and a half. My father wanted to do a book called At Their Feet, and the book is on the lives and experiences of Black Muslim elders, the lives and experiences of Black Muslim elders. And the purpose of the book was to be able to capture their way of being Muslim in America, the trials that they have faced, the triumphs that they have been able to have, and to really just capture that history, because we understand that if we don't capture the history, it will be lost. So the purpose of the book At Their Feet was really just to be able to pull together some of the lives, experiences, happenings of Black Muslim elders. So we have been working on it, plugging it along little by little by little by little over the last maybe year and a half, and collecting stories and doing some interviews and such. And I think right now we're at like 44. Our goal was to have at least 44 people featured in the book. And I think that we surpassed our goal. I have to check with my editor, but I think that we surpassed our goal. And I'm excited because that book will be out, inshallah, which means God willing. That book will be out in the next couple of months or so. So we are finalizing that now. Sadly, we lost a couple of people who were featured in the book. There's a brother, Benjamin Hogue. He passed. A couple of other people passed that we feature in the book. So I'm really happy that at least we were able to capture their stories and such. So Mr. Scott is someone that I just met. I'm going to formally bring him on in just a moment. But somehow we're Facebook friends. I don't know how that always happens on Facebook. But I saw a couple of his posts and they intrigued me, and I'll talk to you more when we talk to him about why that is. So I invited him to come on and share this evening with us a little bit of his story. And just learning more about him, I was like blown away. And I think that you are going to be blown away as well. So I'm really super excited for us to meet him. So I'm going to bring him on, then we'll formally introduce him. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Earl.
Walaikum salam, sister. Walaikum salam. And thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. So I don't even know, Brother Earl. I told you a little bit, but for those who are new to me, my name is Zarinah El-Amin, and we're from Detroit, Michigan, right? And so I'm an author and a publisher, and this particular series that I'm doing now is called At Their Feet, all centered around sitting at the feet of our elders, learning from their stories, listening to them. So Brother Earl is a degreed business professional with over 25 years experience in the national health markets and human resource management, leadership, education, program management, customer service, and organizational management. He is currently a senior case manager with the GEO Group. He holds a Bachelor's of Science, an MBA with a specialization in healthcare management, and is currently pursuing his PhD in public health from Walden University, specializing in community health education. So he's done a lot of work with reentry programs with the city of Newark, New Jersey, which is where he is from and where he resides. And he's won tons and tons and tons of awards for his community service and many of the great things that he is doing in the world. So before we jump into it, I just want to welcome you, Brother Earl. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, sister. Once again, I'm so happy and pleased to be here.
Yeah, so let's start this. I just ran off this bio, right? That sounds
Right.
great. Like all of these amazing things that you've done in your life. But I know that your life has been one that has been hills and plateaus, valleys, and many things that have gone up and down throughout your life. And I want to kind of just go back. Let's do a little bit of biography, if you will, to
Okay.
go back and talk a little bit about little Earl, where you grew up, and what was your original family structure like?
Well, I was born in New York, and my mother from Harlem, and she brought me to New Jersey as a baby, as a young kid, and I grew up in Orange, New Jersey. And to give away my age, I was born January 25th, 1953. Okay, so I just turned 69. So the family structure, I came from a single family home, just my mother. My mother was 43 years old when she had me. My father
Mm.
was 25 years old. He lived in Philadelphia.
Wait, hold
And,
on, hold on. Your mom was 43
and
and
my
your dad
father
was
was
25.
25.
Get it, mama.
And
Okay.
he was from the Nassau, the Bahamas, and I was probably the only kid on that block where I grew up because I grew up with Black, Irish, and Italians, and I was probably the only kid on the street that didn't have a father back then. So I was
Mm,
one of many that grew up in those turbulent '60s when the Temptations were talking about psychedelic shack and Cloud Nine and the influence of drugs in our neighborhood. And early on, because of certain traumas that happened and took place in my own personal life, I got involved with the narcotics.
mm.
And at a very young age, at 11 years old, I started dabbling. Yeah, 11 years old, I started dabbling in that world and stayed in that world for a very, very long time, breaking my mother's heart and just ups and downs and hills and things of challenges. And a lot of it is
Wait, before you go on, because I want to kind
right,
of go back to this. I can't let it go that quickly because I have a 15-year-old, I have a
right.
10-year-old, and I have an 8-year-old. So I'm looking at my 10-year-old. You were 11. It's only a year. My 10-year-old is about to turn 11 in a couple of months or
Right.
so. I can't even imagine him. So, at that age, was it a conscious decision that you made to get into the drug life, or did someone like strategically recruit you? What did that actually look like as far as getting into that world?
I always took responsibility later on from my choices. The choices and the decisions I made on my own. Nobody forced me or pushed me or did anything. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be what fascinated me instead of looking at doctors and lawyers as something as mentors. I looked at the number runner, the drug dealers, the fast people in the street as that to emulate. This is what I looked at for manhood and that kind of lifestyle, which was totally backwards. But those are the things that I found satisfaction in, where there really wasn't any satisfaction. But I looked at that as that's what I wanted to do. So the choice was always mine.
Yeah, I thank you for taking ownership. All right, so 11, you jump into this world. You have some. I can imagine this very turbulent world or such. And so, take me from there. What's the next steps with you?
Uh, you know, bouncing here and there and everywhere. Like I said, breaking my mother's heart and pushing my way through school. I was at one time a very brilliant student, but being that the trauma that I had been experienced started to override me, and I just started to demise. I mean, I barely got out of school. And I got drafted into the military, and that became a failure also. And my life was always never, it was always incomplete. It was never anything. My first marriage at 18 or 19 years old was a disaster. And because I really not only disappointed myself, my mother, but also disappointed my first wife. And I have a 50-year-old daughter. I have, and that relationship is not as well as I would like it to be. But basically, my life between 11 and my late 30s was nothing but a blank page. There's no kind of sense of really, truly accomplishments. There's nothing really there that I can say that I'm very proud of. And as I said, I really broke my mother's heart in two. You know what I mean? Because the things I did, and she never understood or never knew the abuse that I was experiencing as a child when she wasn't there, because my mother traveled a lot and left me with people who she thought, you understand, would be watching me and caring for me, but were abusing me. And
Mm,
uh, and that took its toll on me and made me very angry. And I think those were variables that are contributions to the lifestyle that I engaged in, but still, truly, the choices were always mine. So you take from 11 to like my late 30s or something around in there, being incarcerated for a short period of time, uh, drug possession charges, locked up for distribution for narcotics, convicted in Superior Court for narcotics, and that's the way my whole life was. And for some reason, Allah was always there watching over me. I became the Nation of Islam in 68, 69. I was with the Nation for a little while. And, basically wasn't really truly at it. You know what I mean? I sold my papers and bean pies on Saturdays and all that. But at nighttime, I was running the streets still wild.
living a
So I
double
mean,
life.
my life has been one of, you understand, totally a journey of trying to find who I was and where did I fit in at. And
Mm,
that's why when I wrote my bio, I didn't concentrate on the crimes that I committed or the bad things I did, but the journey to find me. What is my purpose? What am I here for? You know what I mean? And and it was a long journey, and it took me. It almost killed me, two or three times. I've faced death a few times, of being out there in the street. But for some reason, Allah still, was caring for me and still had a purpose for me, and I'm still here. But those years, those 25 plus years, sister, was just a nightmare. My mother died seeing me on my knees. Uh, my mother died. I robbed my own mother on her deathbed because I had become such a derelict and such degradation of an individual that I had really, really hit the lows. But I was sick and I did what I had to do. I didn't have to do it, but I tell that story in my book of robbing my mother on her deathbed, and to this day that still hurts sometimes. But that's how my life had come to that point. Yeah.
yeah. May Allah have mercy on your mother's soul, and may all of the redemption that you have done, weigh heavily on her scale. Um, I want to go back because I know that you speak about the abuse that you suffered as a
Right,
child, and I know it can be very difficult to discuss that. And you've been pretty open about it, which
right,
something in many people, of course, never really talk about that, and especially many men never talk about the abuse that they have
right.
suffered as a child. I wonder whatever you can share from that period, like what has been like what I guess we know that it caused you pain and trauma, but like, what was the turning point with that, um, coming from that trauma and going into your awareness period?
Okay, I had been to a few places besides being incarcerated, mental institutions in different places. And I was in a place called White Deer, Pennsylvania. And for some reason, it was a very strange place. And I had always got to a point of wanting to give up the secret tapes. See, we all got these secret tapes, and a lot of us will go to our grave carrying those secret tapes, but your secrets keep you sick. So I was in
Mm,
this place. I was in this place up there, and for some reason, just like hot water boils, and it gets to a point. Every time when I used to see people go through their traumas or fall out on the floor, I would always say, nobody never gonna see me like that. You know what I mean? Oh no. But lo and behold, at this place up there, I went to someone and confessed what had happened to me. That how I, as a little boy, between the ages of 5 and 8 and 9, I had been being raped, and by my mother's male friends and my mother's female friends.
Mm.
And he told me, he gave me a hug and he says, "You want to get better?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got to do it out there in front of them." Do it out there in front of who? No way I'm going out there talking about this stuff. He said, "But you want to get better, you got to give it up out there." I sat on the end of the seat hoping that he would call on me. We was in this circle and I just was it was itching. He knew that I wanted him to help me pull it out of me, but I just stopped whatever the conversation was about and I started giving my testimony what happened to me, and I fell out. And the thing about it is, what was told to me is that now I'm a grown man now. I screamed like that little boy that was 5 years old that never screamed before. I fell out on the floor. I changed colors. I regurgitated a lot of pain and trauma that I had kept inside. And from that day forward, not only did my skin coloration become lighter, it began me on my journey to discover and peel back the onion and find out who I really am. Because that's what had me a prisoner for so long. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse of why I use narcotics, why I sold narcotics, because I did it because I wanted to do it. But that incident, those variables, not having a father, the rape, the molestation, the beating sometime, and this and that, and especially my mother's male friends, you know what I mean, like really threatening my life and my mother's life if I didn't comply. So I regurgitated all that. I threw all that up, and from that day forward, I've done nothing but not only become a productive member of society, but I just started peeling back, trying to find out who I was and what's my purpose, seeking forgiveness, and doing my best to help those that might be in despair, telling my story. Because when I was writing my book, I says, "Do you really want?" Because I was going to run for political office, and somebody that I was intended to at that time to marry, she said, "Would you really want people to know about this? Because they could use this as a weapon against you." So I didn't run for office, but then I just said, when I wrote my book, I really don't care what people assumptions that they may think about me, but I can't be telling half the truth of my life and not revealing all of me. Okay, because I'm not that kind of a person anymore. So I wrote my book, and I only have one copy, and that's the name of the book right here. And Dr. Patrice Berry, I told you the story earlier. We used to have a TV show. Spoke when I got my master's in
That's
Georgia,
great.
and she encouraged me to use that title, "Buck Naked" and "Active Courage," and it means transparency. It doesn't have anything to do with sex or anything like that. But that's how my journey was, and I found out that most people that I went to school with that had got the book from me, they said, "I always wondered why you so crazy."
Mm.
Most of the responses that I got from that book was from females. I got two responses for a couple of guys, but most guys don't want to touch that. Like I must have hit home with them, or they're just not going to deal with it. You know what I mean? So, and it's
Mhm.
okay. But I have to do what I needed to do to make me better, because on that day, he's not going to ask me what you did, and he's not going to ask me what I did, or you to ask me what I did. Everybody's going to be responsible for his actions and their behavior. So, I
Mhm.
mean, that's basically, I'm one of the ones where people see me today and they just understand, "How did you make it?" Because I really thought you were dead. I
Mhm.
never thought that you would make it. And it's funny that when we listen to Islam or any other thing, like the last shall be first and the first shall be last, all those that frown down upon me, okay, when I was down, now they're at the end, and Allah has brought me to the forefront. It's like the hadith that says about, you know what I mean, you get to a certain point, and what overrides you, and you start be doing the works of the people of Jannah, and instead opposed to the people of the hellfire. So my whole life since then has done nothing but trying to help people as far as going to school. I love school, and I was a very brilliant student. But like I said, I had complications and I had problems. I spent a year in Franklin Delano Roosevelt Psychiatric Hospital painting rocks for 50 cents a day in my bathrobe up by the Hudson River in New York. So I've had some traumas and been
How
some
old were
places.
you then? How old were you when you were in that facility?
I was probably in my 30s, maybe. I was in my 30s, probably then. I was in my 30s, and I had went from. I was in. It's a VA hospital, and
Hmm.
I was really totally. I mean, really totally trying to destroy myself. And I was up there, and like I said, I was painting
Doing
rocks in my
drugs. What does
bathrobe.
destroy yourself? What does destroy yourself mean? Is that the time that you were really dealing with the addiction?
Well, I think that it's not only the addiction, but just trying to take myself away from here by any means necessary. Whether it be through drugs, putting myself in risky behaviors. I mean, I've had times when people just told me, "You want me to shoot you." You crazy nigga. That's what they talk, because the way you're acting. Because I really had a death wish. I really didn't care. And I was in a lot of pain, a lot of pain. So, I've made my rounds. But like I said, since then, in that lifestyle, seeking redemption, I've done nothing but do the best that I can to be the best that I can, the best best person. Allah blessed me to become PTA president of the Islamic School in New Jersey for a
So
little
wait,
short
I have a
period of
question.
time.
Before we get into like where
Okay,
you are now or such, I need to like figure out in my own head, right? Like
go
this
ahead.
this change, because as you said, many people wrote you off, right? They said
Yes,
like there
ma'am.
is no way that this dude can turn around in his 30s. He is in this psych ward painting rocks for 50 cents. Like people would have just written you off at that point. Now you're pursuing a PhD. You have a whole new life. But you talk about the moment laying on the ground when you were able to kind of release some of the trauma from
Right.
the experiences that you had with the abuse. Was that like the moment? Was that the pivotal moment that was a 180 shift, or
Yeah.
was it little things that happened over the time to create this turn that you made?
There was different increments that came, but the main, for me, this is just for me,
Mm-hmm.
the main lasso that was given to me, the lifeline that was given to me shortly after that is when I took Shahada.
And how old were
So
you then?
in that period of time, in my late 30s, I took Shahada after coming out of White Deer, Pennsylvania, uh, and started trying to understand Islam, opposed to when I was practicing with the Nation of Islam. So there was increments along the way. There were doors opening for me. And then I was attending Narcotic Anonymous NA meetings, with other Muslims. And we used to have a Islamic NA meeting in the masjid in East Orange, New Jersey. So it was different things that came along, breadcrumbs along the way that helped me to build me to who I am today. It just didn't happen overnight. It was a process.
It was a process. All right, let's pause for one moment. Those of you who are joining us right now, my name is Zarinah El-Amin. I am the founder of the Power Author Academy and Book Power Publishing, and we have a book that is coming out called At Their Feet: The Lives and Experiences of Black Muslim Elders. And this evening, I have with me the guest, Mr. Earl Scott, also known as Hassan Amin, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Right.
But Mr. Earl Scott from out of New Jersey, and his life is just one of redemption and also taking ownership of his choices. And that's what one of the things that I really respect, is that all of us are dealt our hand, and he consistently says, I made these choices that were not good choices, and now he's making better choices, right? So we're listening to his life and his story and seeing what gems we can glean for ourselves and things that we can apply to our own lives, because all of us are on the trajectory. We're all evolving. We're all changing, and hopefully we're evolving for the better. So we're listening to the stories, and we're thankful for people that are willing to share those darker moments that they have experienced so that we can learn, right? So that we can learn. That's the purpose. If any of
Absolutely.
you all have any questions, you can drop the questions into the comment box. I will be going down the comment box soon and pulling out any questions that you all have for Mr. Earl, also known as Brother Hassan. All right, so you became Muslim in your 40s, I think it is, right? You had
About
already
late
did
30s,
that.
40s, yeah, around then.
All right, 40s or so. So you had already, I'm 42, so I'm thinking about like my own little life. So, you had dibbled and dabbled, with the nation before. So that was
Right.
some consciousness. And then now you formally took your Shahada. But how did that even come about? Like, did someone introduce
Uh,
you? What was going on?
yeah, someone introduced me, and at that time, I had a job when I came home of working behind a garbage truck. So, my thing was I took Shahada. I want to be part of the Islamic community, and I started being a part of the Islamic community. And to be very honest, I want me a Muslim wife. I got to have me a Muslim wife. You know what I mean? You're asking me. So I just started practicing Islam and wanting to be a part of, I wanted a Muslim wife and I wanted an opportunity to be a father again. And so, on this road of growing and developing, I got married, you know what I mean? And, I was like 37, 38, I think it was. And my wife was 22. And, it didn't work, but I've got three kids out of being married. And, so it's been a lot of different events that have happened to help build me. And I was going to school. I went from I was working on the garbage truck. I was working in a nursing home. I was vending because I'm a veteran. So I was vending merchandise and I was going to school too. So I did my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, and I kept going and kept going and kept going. But, then
And
I was in.
congratulations. I just want to say, congratulations on the going back at that stage.
Right,
When I hear your story, I'm putting myself and then people that I know like in your shoes, thinking
right,
I'm like I said, I'm 42 years old, right? So going
right.
back to school at this age or such and going through all of the things that come with putting yourself in a new environment, something that's different for you. And I'm kind of feeling you go through all of those step by step by step, your associate, your bachelor's, your master's, now your PhD,
Mhm.
and and that is definitely a beautiful trajectory. So, I want to with this change of religion and this way of Islam that you said it started to wake you up
Right.
and invigorate your spirit or such. Like, when you were doing that, were there times what did that feel like for you? Meaning that a lot of people have times where it just hits them and they're like, this is the truth. I really love it. I'm going to come in. Other people have times where their faith sort of like wavers at time. Like for you, been your experience with Islam as a whole?
Well, I've always been a little different. And what I mean a little different, I've always been very open to walk the middle road. I've never got caught up in don't disassociate myself with people that are not Muslims. You know what I mean? I never did that. Some of the people that helped me later on in my life when I was going through challenges were Christians. You know what I mean? So I've always been open. I was around people that I kind of distanced myself from because of the fact they had the attitude that if you're not Muslim, you're going to hell. You don't want you to be around me. You're a Christian. I never got into that stuff. I was always open. And I think the more education that I got, the more secular knowledge that I got, the more understanding that I started to understand the deen more and understanding that people are just people. You know what I mean? That there's polarity in the universe, there's diversity in society, and everything is not going to be the way one wants it to be. So I just started to be the best person that I could be besides saying it, I started walking. I started feeding and closing down the street, doing events. I started embracing Christian, Buddha, whatever you were, it was okay with me because it's not my job to force you to do anything. But sometimes they used to always say, "You're a different kind of Muslim." You know, what do you mean I'm a different kind of Muslim? Because sometimes I've had bad experience of being shunned down because I'm not Muslim. It's not my job to make you feel bad about yourself. So I've always had that balance with me. And like I said, the more educated I became, uh, the more balance that I was able to embrace and to be able to discharge and demonstrate in my lifestyle each and every day.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I read in the article was you decided that you wanted to go back to either the
Mm-hmm.
judges. I don't know if it was the judges or the police or what, but you wanted to go back and apologize or thank them for
Right.
arresting you. Can you tell me exactly what you did and why you wanted to do that?
Well, we all have these moments in our life, whereas I have to work on me, and I have to do what I need to do to make me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was such a criminal and such a, I was bad in that community. So I called Barry Carter from the Star Ledger and told him that my idea of what I wanted to do. And he was like, "You want to do what?" And it was like, because I had called up to there and said I want to do it. And they say, "Hey, Bob, we got a guy on, he must be on crack. He wants to come up and give us a plaque or something to thank us for locking him up 25 years ago or 20 years ago." And they thought I was a little crazy for wanting to do that. But a councilman that I went to school with, he made a way for me to go up there and thank and ask for forgiveness and thank them because I really believe that my creator put that incident on that corner that day to stop me, to put me, because sometimes he puts things in your way to help steer you in the right way. And me being arrested and being stopped by the Orange Police that day was another event that happened to continue me on my process to become who I am today. So I went there and they gave me a standing ovation. I spoke before the city council, the captain of police, and the deputy, and everybody that was up there, and I gave them a plaque thanking them for I believe that God sent them to stop me. And and it made the front of the newspaper, and a lot of judges and a lot of people that I knew that didn't know I had a background thought that it was like, that was something you did. But then I had controversy from Muslims. Some people, well, why would you go thank the police? Why didn't you just thank Allah? And then, well, wait a minute, hold it, slow down. This is my soul. You know what I mean? I have to do what I need to do to better me. It has nothing to do with you. So that event it's another event of me helping to polish me up, to continue to help me to develop who I'm supposed to be. And what better way to do that is to seek forgiveness for being who this criminal, this vagabond, this bestiality thinking person, to come back and say, "Please forgive me for the crimes that I've committed. And just, I'm very sorry if I offended anybody in my actions and my behavior."
Yeah, what
And
a powerful thing to witness, someone coming
Mhm.
back in this older age. Because as you said, you could have just pushed that stuff underneath the rug and living your little great life now without people knowing the things that you went through before. But you chose
Right,
to open up, you chose to share so that other people can be able to to learn from your experiences. I think that is, absolutely amazing. But one other thing that I hear from it is it sounds now that you live what I call you're in tune with your intuition, right? So when Allah is sending you signs, when Allah is telling you, hey, do this, you're not pushing it down, you're actually taking action. And to me, that takes a lot of courage because many of us, I and myself included, right? Like I hear certain signs, God tells me to do something, and then I start to try to think, oh, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And so you kind of push it to
right.
the side. But it sounds like for you, you have this sense of inner self where you're able to actually take action on the things that you are divinely inspired to do. Do you see it that way?
I see it that way at times, and then there's times because everything has not been very smooth. You know, everything has a lesson. There's always these lessons that you go through. I lost my wife in Georgia, and I had sent my kids back up here. And out of all the good that I've done, working with the Greater Conservancy, helping people, doing this, doing that, you know, and going. I've been to Mecca 3 times. I've been to Egypt a few times, and being a real father this time, a real father. And never in my life would I think that he took my son from me 3 years ago. Somebody poisoned my boy, and
Mm,
it hurts. And I say to myself, you know, sometimes I say, "Oh Allah, you know, I've submitted. I've done this. I've done these things for your pleasure. I've done all these things, and he took my baby boy from me, and it hurts. It hurts. And these are some of the things that you know that still is very challenging because my daughters found my son, and he was dead, and you know, and when I watched him, uh, it just hurts. And those are some of the, you know, no matter what you do, you're still going to have these events that happen in your life, and this is something that just rocked me because I just didn't understand. It's just like when I left Georgia to come up here to look for work, and I slept in my truck a whole year writing my dissertation for my PhD and not understanding. Oh, love, why you got me sleeping in my truck? And
mm,
you know, and so it's these things that happen, and you know, people say you're not supposed to question God, you're not supposed to question Allah, but I'm human, so I ask him why. You know what I mean? I might not get the answer that I want, but these are some of the things that has rocked me. So everything has not been, you know, he came from the muck and the mire, he accepted Islam, everything, his life is everything. No, there's been a lot of challenges. There's been a lot of heartbreak. I mean, there's been, you know, my wife died. You know, there's just bad relationships it's just been. It hasn't been as smooth as you know. I don't want to paint the picture to people that's listening to me that you're not going to be tested. You're not going to be tried. You have your moments. Yeah, people look at me now and they see the guy on Facebook with the shirt and tie and the suit and this and that. All that's well and good, but you know what? I still hurt. I still have problems, but today I don't act out on them. Today I call people a support system and say this is what's going on with me. This is how I feel today. You know what I mean? And sometimes they're not Muslims. Sometimes they're just regular people because the message can come from anybody. So you know, it's been a rocky road. But I think Allah, like you inviting me to come on your show tonight, is you know Allah letting me know that it's time for you to do a little bit more work on yourself. That you have to let other people know that we look for things in life, that the miracles, rivers opening, things flying out the sky. But I'm the miracle. I'm the one that you could look at and say, the miracle happened through me. That, you know, like here I was dead, damn near dead, and he brought me back to life and giving me a chance to be able to be a better human being, to be able to help those, to massage the hearts of those that hurt. I mean, you know, I couldn't stop writing when I regurgitated that pain. I have 687 writings in the Library of Congress. I got 3 books never published yet. So he's done some wonderful things with me. But like I said, losing my son 3 years ago took the win. And if I may, you know what I
mm,
mean? This is my
mm,
boy. This is my boy, Fareed. This is my boy. And he'd be 25 now. And somebody poisoned my boy, and, you know, and it hurts. But I got to go on. I get up. I didn't stay out of work long. I went back to work the next week, helping people, doing what I can to help those that are in despair, helping those, you understand, that are going through some painful stuff, helping those to unlock those secret tapes that help people to reveal things that keep them hostage and keep them bonded and stuff like that. So I still get up every morning and do what I need to do to help humanity
mhm,
and try to
mhm.
put a smile on my face. And
Okay.
sometimes I hurt, but I have a painted smiles many days, but the one thing that I don't do today that I used to do, I used to paint the outside of the junkyard. You know what I mean? A lot of people still paint the outside of the junkyard. It'd be looking all nice, but inside there's a lot of junk. Today,
Mm,
you understand, I'm genuine, and I feel very good being able to be who I am today.
mhm, mhm. First, nobody knows what to say when you lose someone, but I do want you to know that your story is touching me, and I pray for your son, and I will continue to pray for your son's, forgiveness, and that he is granted paradise, and also that God continues to bring you peace while you're going through this new phase of life, having lost someone that's very precious to you. I mean, these, as you said, I really appreciate the fact that you're honest and that you're open and that you share the ups and downs, because life be lifing pretty much. Like, life just be lifing all the time, sending us stuff, that's all the time.
Right,
And
right.
here God talk about, verily every difficulty comes ease. With every difficulty comes ease. Like, it does come. And it's also, even in the midst of the difficulty, I think that it can be easy for us sometimes to get stuck, in that realm. And what I've learned from you just in the last bit of listening to you is that there is life. Like, there is a continuation. If you still have life within you, if you still have breath within you, then God is not done with you. And I think a lot for you. I think that you're like a little angel, on earth. I feel like your story, and I feel like you sharing, being willing to share those things,
Yes.
is a way that someone else is going to be able to improve their own life, right? To be improve their own lot, and the way that they're moving forward through to the next things or such. So
Can I,
first of all, thank you. Yeah.
excuse me for interrupting you. I just got to read you this before I lose it. In my book, this is, and going back, this is what I wrote to my mother. And I said, "Dear mother, I wanted to let you know what happened to me when you weren't looking. When you
Mm,
weren't looking, those who you thought cared about us never did because they ripped my heart apart. All those times that you were made to believe something was wrong with me, it was because you weren't looking. The times I made you cry was all because you weren't looking. The moments you thought I was going to die, I wanted to because you weren't looking. All the
mm,
years I worried you was because you weren't looking. When I was locked away insane, I cried because you weren't looking. I could not tell you of what was being done because they kept you not looking. I am sorry for the harm I did to you, believing you should have been looking. I have forgiven myself as well for thinking you should have been looking. I could not love because my pain made you think it was something different. I can love now, and I forgive you even though you weren't looking. As the years have come and whisked by, and many ask me how you come to feel about the world as you do today, I say, I am the son of an illustrious woman who now watches over me.
she is looking now for sure.
Yeah.
Did your mom ever find out while she
No,
was?
no, this is if you can see, this is my mother.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's my mother. She never knew, she knew something was wrong with me, but she never, I mean, she knew that she was thinking that when she left here that I would be coming right behind her because somebody was either going to kill me or I was going to kill myself. But Allah had a different plan for me. And to jump from that, I just want to tell you when you said the thing about an angel, let me tell you something. I worry grief stricken about my son, and I asked Allah, I said, is he okay? Can you show me something, something, something? Somebody got on my page and says, you have wonderful children. And I says, how do you know my children? She says, I'm Miss So-and-so. I taught your kids in Georgia. She said, your son changed my life. I says, a 4-year-old kid changed your life? What are you talking about? She said that your son didn't understand Christmas because you have a different faith. So I tried to explain to him because he saw all the other little kids giving me gifts and stuff, and he still was puzzled. She said he came back 2 days later with a little Kleenex box with a little tree in there with some silver around it with an orange spider on the top of it, and gave it to me as a gift. And she said I did nothing but cry because it was the true meaning of giving. And he
Mm,
cried, I cried, he laughed, I laughed. And she put it in the Atlanta Journal Constitution about a little Muslim boy of a different faith came and gave the true meaning of giving. And that let me know as a sign that he was okay.
mm.
I mean, out of the, she said she's been looking for me for 15 years.
Wow.
So
Wow.
those are my journeys and my story, and the journey continues. And I meant to tell you too, I had stopped writing my dissertation. I didn't defend it. So now I've turned the corner and I've registered to take the LSAT in June. I want to go to law school now. So
Look at you.
I'm sorry. I want to
Speaking knowledge from the cradle to the grave. All right.
I always wanted to practice law, but I had a record at that time, and I didn't think they would let me take the bar. But I can take the bar now, so that's an idea. I'm going to do it in June, and working towards studying for that. So that's where I am right now in my life with
How
that.
old are you again? What'd you say? 69? Is
I'm
that
69. I just turned 69 on the 25th of January.
on the 25th of January? I love it. 69 and going back to school, going to take the bar exam. And yeah, you
Yes,
get it.
I want
You
to.
get
I
it.
want to. I want to be able to help those that need help and help themselves. And I just want to be able to, and and even going to Mecca 3 times. I was invited by the king when I made the Hajj, but I made 2 Umrahs before that. And you know what? A lot of people don't understand. You got different experiences when you go there. I felt what other people probably feel. The emotions and all that, but there was still something inside of me that felt empty, and I
Mm,
still had not really found what I was looking for, me, kind of. And you know where I found me at? I found me when I looked in the mirror.
um,
I was there all the time. I was
mhm,
there all the time. So we go
mhm.
through all kinds of things in our life, and we attach ourselves to this and that and this and that and that and that. And really, everything is within you.
Everything's within you. Yep. You have to look and pull it out and take action.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes, my
all
sister.
right. So, Brother Earl, also known as Brother Hassan, I forgot to ask you about your name. I'm going to ask you really quick because I think it's interesting. But let's see if
Right.
there are any other questions here as well from people who are here in the chat. Oh,
Okay.
so you have a sister, Fatima Rahman. She said, I think she must be one of your Facebook friends, but she said she is there in tears listening to your story.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
we have brother Halil Ibrahim. I know he's from Ghana, sending you peace, beloved
Alhamdulillah.
brother. Uh,
Alhamdulillah.
Amina Abdullah, I feel your pain and loss. My son returned to Allah also 11 years. Now I still hurt a hole in my heart now. May
Alhamdulillah.
Allah have mercy on you as well. Let me see. Amina Abdullah. Alhamdulillah for Allah's mercy. I know what exactly he's saying. My husband, may Allah have mercy on his soul and grant him Jannah Firdaus, said the same thing. He got locked up for something he didn't do at that time, but
Right.
he's glad that happened. He did 28 years. Woo! Woo!
Whoa.
See, stuff like
Whoa.
that would make me like want to pull out my little
Alhamdulillah.
nice. Be ready to kill somebody. He did 28 years for something he didn't do, but it saved his life. So bigger
Alhamdulillah.
plan. I swear I would want to kill someone. Okay, so let me go up. Tamika Stewart says, Assalamu alaikum, beautiful story. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Uh Brother Ibrahim, that's beautiful, mashallah. I was thinking about something like that too. Oh, the book at their feet or so. And then
Alhamdulillah.
some viewers just saying Assalamu alaikum. So before we let you go, and I'll see if there are any questions or such, but before we let you go, I want to ask you about this name because I have been fascinated, with names and the meanings of names and people choosing their own name. And, my father, when he came into Islam, he selected a name like many people do, not most, but many
Right,
people when they come to Islam, they choose to have a new name that goes with their new identity, their new way of living, right?
right,
So he chose the name Abdullah El-Amin, right?
right.
And but when I talked to him, it was like, I don't, maybe when he was like 55 or 60 or something, he said, I actually wish that I hadn't changed his first name. He wished that he had never changed his very first name because
Right,
that was a connection to his father. He had his father's name or whatever. He
right,
never changed it back. But I know you selected Hassan Amin and then as your name, and then you
right.
went back to Earl Scott. So just tell me real quick, like how you selected Hassan Amin and then going back to your birth name.
Well, it was difficult becoming employed because I had the Muslim name. I would send my CV out and I wouldn't get any response on the Hassan Amin. But if I send the same CV out under Earl Scott, I got hits as far as employment. But I found out for me that when I changed my name, I still was in that behavior of wanting to be a part of something. Okay. So I could have stayed Earl Scott and then been Hassan Amin in the community, but I did it legally. So I did it because that same thing of in a negative way of wanting to do drugs and wanting to be a part of something. I changed my name because of the fact my intention was wanting to be a part of something, you know what I mean? And I felt as though for me, when I changed it back to Earl Scott, I just felt as though that I had outgrew Hassan Amin now. I just felt like I outgrew it. You know what I mean? It's just we're different kind of people throughout our lives. And Hassan Amin, people still call me Hassan, but I felt as though I had outgrew it. Because it means handsome and it means trustworthy. I mean, but I just felt as though that the reason why, what was my intentions of really doing it? Was I doing it for the pleasure of Allah, or was I doing it just to be like I'm being a part of something again? Because my whole life I've always done things to be a part of something. So I just changed it back and I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Just the takeaway part about the practical side on you sending out the resumes with both names and
Right.
only getting hits with one name. Like people think that the discrimination and that stuff doesn't occur, but it actually
Right.
does. And your life speaks to that. All right. So, okay. So someone says happy belated birthday to you.
Hello,
Yes.
Akbar. Shukran.
Yeah, so Brother Earl, I want to thank you so much for coming
Thank
in
you.
and sharing your story with us. As you said, giving you time to work on yourself. And
Right.
I
Right.
have learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot from your story. I learned a lot as well about, taking ownership over my own choices, the things that I do, the things that I decide or to go with, and the things that I
Right.
don't do. And then also the fact that it's not over, that
Right.
you created a whole new life after your 30s, after your 40s, like a whole new life, and I
Right.
think that is so inspiring for people who may feel as though they're too late, like they can't go and do that thing that they want to do. And here you are, you
Right.
know defending your PhD and then about to go to law school, following
Right.
your dreams. So it's
Yeah.
definitely an inspirational moment for us. So, any last words that you would like to share, Brother Earl?
Yes, I'd just like to thank you and the people that made the commentary to me. May Allah bless them. May Allah bless you and your family. And I thank you so much for allowing me and permitting me to still do construction on me. You know what I mean? Because this has been a learning experience for me also. I've learned some things about you. I've learned from you also. So I thank you so much. And may Allah continue to bless you, keep you on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and guide you and bless you with all that you desire in life, sister.
I mean, I receive it. Woo! All right, you all. So, Mr. Earl, he's on Facebook. If you want to follow him, you can definitely go and follow him
Right.
on Facebook, Earl Scott. And maybe when he has some other things coming out, you may see some books or something that he's doing. Support him in his endeavors as well. So he was our first, Mr. Earl. You were our first at their feet, formal interview that I, as
Really?
far as video. Yeah, like I talk to my elders all the time, but
Right.
um, but this was my first time actually bringing you all on camera.
Good.
So yeah,
Would you do me one favor, please?
yes.
Would you please call upon me if I may be of service to you in any kind of way? I would really would any contribution that I can make to what you're trying to do and add value to your life in any kind of way, or with your podcast, please let me know so that I can be able to help you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So inshallah, we'll continue to have more interviews coming down the pipe. I don't know exactly when, so don't ask me for a schedule yet, but inshallah, we'll continue to have them all. All right. You all have a great evening. May God put blessing in your life and your family's life and
I
bring
mean,
ease and joy and happiness to you and give you a life of an abundance of all
I
the good things.
mean, I
All right.
mean, I mean.
Assalamu alaikum. Bye,
Right.
everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.